While the Ford Focus RS grabs all the headlines, I'd argue this: the ST is the best all-rounder in the Ford Focus family. The Focus ST is a performance version of the popular Focus hatchback, and it's one of Carbuyer's favourite hot hatches. It sits below the hardcore RS in the Focus range and is available as an estate or a 5-door hatchback with 182 bhp 2-litre diesel or a 247 bhp 2-litre petrol engine. Go for the diesel and you can have a manual or an automatic gearbox, while the petrol is manual only. Now let's get the interior design out of the way with first of all, because it's very much the ST's weak point. Yes, there is a brand new colour touchscreen which came in with the car's facelift, but it's not the easiest system to use, and whilst it does make the dash very clutter-free, the rest of the dashboard does look quite dated. There's also not very much adjustment in the steering wheel, especially as this is a hot hatchback. And whilst the quality is absolutely fine in here, there are in certain areas some really shiny, scratchy plastics that would actually get on your nerves after a while. Having said that, there is quite a lot of storage in here. The door bins do pass the Carbuyer big bottle test quite easily, and the glove box is large enough for a large packet of knickknacks, but they do fit in there very easily. Talking about nice touches in here, I love these Recaro sport seats. Not only do they look fantastic, but they also offer a lot of support and comfort, and the gauges on top of the dash add an extra sporty flavour to the ST. As well as the two diesel options and hatchback or estate models, there are two trim levels, ST2 and ST3. ST2 gets you Recaro sport seats, an 8-inch sat-nav infotainment system, keyless go and sport suspension. For a further £2,000 or so, ST3 adds leather seats with power adjustment, sharper looking alloy wheels, red brake calipers, keyless entry and rear parking sensors. In the back, and space is fine. Now the ST, as we know, already comes with these fat Recaro sport seats, so there is a little bit less legroom than you find in the standard Focus, but generally speaking it is absolutely fine. I'm just over 5'10" and I've got a decent amount of knee room. Headroom is pretty good too. Now you can fit a third passenger at a push. They won't be your friend for too long, however, because you are perched up very high and headroom is pretty tight. It's just a shame that the doors don't open particularly wide on the ST, and there is no armrest here to get really very comfortable. All you've got is a very nice Recaro stitched logo, but there's no armrest. Round to the boot and things go a little bit downhill, I'm afraid, because at 316 litres, the Focus ST's boot is actually quite small. Now, it's always been a bit of a problem with the Focus because there are Super Minis that've got larger boots, but having said that, the boot is of a good shape. There's not a huge amount of a lip, and there's not a big drop down in the boot floor either. Let's grab the Carbuyer large suitcase, and you can see it's pretty easy to get your large loads in there. Now you can of course make the space a little bit larger by dropping the 60/40 folding rear seats, but when you do that you notice that they don't fold completely flat, and there's a massive drop from the boot floor down onto the back seats. Now that's pretty unusual. But having said all of this, if space is a massive priority for you, the good thing about the ST is it also comes as a 5-door estate. Your choice of petrol or diesel should, as ever, be determined by the amount and type of driving you do. The petrol model officially manages 41 mpg, while the diesel is an impressive 50% more efficient at 61 mpg. CO2 emissions are between 110 and 159 grams per kilometre, and if you pick the diesel model you can get pretty low company car tax rates. Now for the best hot hatch experience you're going to want to go for the petrol, but really if you're going to be ploughing up and down the motorway and you want the best real-world fuel economy, you're going to want the diesel, and it's the diesel we've got here, and it is a very good engine. Now with 182 brake horsepower it is pretty quick. We've got the auto here, and if I put my foot down on the throttle, kick down is pretty good and we're away. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it makes a pretty sporty noise as well. Now it is all artificial and it's pumped in through the speakers, but still, that sounds pretty sporty to me and something you could very much get on board with. 0 to 62 takes 8.1 seconds in the diesel and 6.5 with the petrol, while the diesel tops out 135 miles an hour and the petrol manages 154 miles an hour. The facelift has improved the ST's driving experience too, thanks to tweaks to the traction control system and the suspension, but it's still very happy to spin its wheels in the wet or run wide in the dry. Now you can forget your sophisticated four-wheel drive systems and 2-litre engines that push out 300 brake horsepower with the Focus ST, because it's far more of a warm, hot hatchback. And I don't mean that in a nasty sense at all, because the ST very much stands up on its own 2 feet. Yes, the Focus RS does grab all the headlines. It's very much the mad uncle of the Focus family, but the ST still stands up on its own 2 feet. The chassis on this car is absolutely brilliant, and it's mated to pinpoint sharp steering. The ST is a huge amount of fun in the twisty stuff. Now, I would go for the manual gearbox if you can, because it is so slick, so precise. This auto is fine, it's just that it does slur a little bit between gear changes. Bad points with the ST? Well, the ride is very firm on this car. It's a lot harder than you'd find in the equivalent Golf GTI, for example. And the door mirrors, now I don't want to get all practical, but this is a hot hatchback after all. The door mirrors are way too small, and the visibility over my rear shoulder isn't the best. The Ford Focus ST might not be the quickest car around the track, and it's certainly not the most powerful hot hatch you can buy, but it's arguably one of the most engaging and analogue feeling. It's also, I'd argue, got the right amount of power once you're off the test track and out in the real world. If you've enjoyed this review, click here for our review of the Ford Focus RS and press the Carbuyer logo to subscribe to our channel.